Hey YouTube, thanks for stopping by Moodog's Frugal RCs and more. Today we're going to be having a look at the GoolRC T5G. Stay tuned. All right, and let's have a look at what we've got here. This is the GoolRC T5G. I mentioned before this does come in two different variants. The T5G, which is going to be the 5.8 gigahertz first-person view, which is going to give you a better quality feed. There's no interference between the 5.8 gigahertz and then the 2.4 gigahertz that actually controls the copter itself. So there is an advantage to the 5.8. This one also comes with the transmitter that has the LCD screen built into it, which I thought was kind of cool. You can get this on Amazon.com where I purchased it for about $50, and I'll put a link in the description as I always do if you guys want to check it out. So on the side of the box we have just some basic information, 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi system for the actual transmission from the transmitter to the quadcopter for control. 4-channel, has eversion, which means it'll do your flips and your rolls. LED lights, we'll talk about those a little later. 6-axis gyro stabilization. Your CF mode, which is going to be your headless mode. One press automatic return, kind of get you back to in your general direction if you get in trouble. First person view, this does have that with the 5.8, and then Wi-Fi transmission. The other side of the box is going to show the other variant, which is the T5W. This one has a different transmitter, and you would use your phone to connect to the Wi-Fi camera that's included on this model here. This one is also available on Amazon.com, so you guys can check this one out as well. But today we're going to be looking at the other model, this one down on the bottom here, the T5G, first person view. So without any further ado, let's have a look at the main components of the package. I'm not doing an unboxing on this. I've already got it out of the box. I've already flown this a little bit, and I figured it would just be better to cut to the chase on this one. I'm not using my prop guards. I don't use them when I fly, so we're not going to be talking about any of that type of stuff. There are instructions included in the package when you purchase this. They are a little bit more difficult to decipher. The Chinese to English translation for GoolRC typically is not the best, but again, they're there for your reference, and you should be able to figure it out without too much trouble. First things first, we're going to take a look at the quadcopter itself. It is an all plastic build. You're dealing with brushed motors on this one again. So as mentioned in previous videos, you want to make sure that you're breaking these motors in properly before you take it out to fly it and do any kind of flips or anything like that. A good idea not to do flips right away anyway. It does stress the motors out, and you can burn them out prematurely. Now this does have a 5.8 gigahertz camera on it, which will connect directly to your transmitter, and I'll show you that a little bit later on. This particular camera broke on the bottom here. It's really kind of a soft and cheap plastic, so what I ended up doing is using some really good quality Velcro, heavy-duty Velcro, and I just put a Velcro patch on the bottom there, and it just seems to sit on here nicer. You don't have that, you know, automatic downward pitch, so it sits on there a little bit flatter. This one does have a on and off switch on the bottom here too, which I really like. 4 feet, kind of very much like a SEMA kind of landing gear on this particular quad. This is using a 3.7 volt 450 milliamp hour battery. I have a bunch of these 650 milliamp hour batteries with the same kind of connector on it, which would be the low C 1S low C connector that I've been using. Flight time on this, if you're doing any FPV, if you have the camera on, you're going to get about anywhere from 5 to 7 minutes of flight time with the stock battery, somewhere right around 7 or maybe 8 minutes with the aftermarket, a little bit more milliamp or capacity battery that I'm using here. Now, I did try to use a bigger battery than that yet. I tried to use the 750 milliamp hour batteries, and they don't fit in to the they don't fit into the battery compartment very well. You really have to squeeze them in there, and it's just not a real good idea unless you want to modify the battery compartment itself, which I've done with several quadcopters. It's going to be kind of a pain in the butt. So 650 milliamp hour 1S batteries work out fine. So that being said, we're going to go over more detail, and I'm going to go over you know, what I liked about the quad and what I didn't like about it a little bit later in the video. Next thing we're going to take a look at is the transmitter. Now this transmitter, when you get it, is not labeled. I took the liberty of labeling some of the controls on here so I know where everything is. And once I learn where everything is on here, I may or may not pull these labels off. But you do have a built-in Fpv screen. Basically, this is going to shoot in 480p, so it's standard resolution, no high definition. You're not looking for high definition here. But I will say that the FPV signal seems to work out pretty well, even at I'd say 70 or 80 meters away. And I've had this thing up pretty high and a little bit of choppy, a little bit of static, but that's to be expected for a quadcopter in this price range. So you can shoot video with one key on the left here. It says a video button. Also, a long press on this will bring you into a menu, which will allow you to change the brightness of the screen, things like that. One button on the right-hand side here, you can hit with your thumb, and then you would have a photo capture. This is not a altitude hold, so you're basically going to be just you and the sticks. You have to control the throttle and make sure that you're not climbing too high, or make sure that you're not diving down and hitting the ground. It has 3 speeds, and the speed button is going to be here. You have your pitch trims, your roll trims, and your yaw trims here. This does do flips, and it has a headless mode and a 1-key return key all in one over here. Obviously, this is going to be your right side, your pitch and your roll. One of the nice things that I liked about this transmitter is the fact that you're not using AA or AAA batteries. It comes with, now this is an aftermarket battery that I have in here, but it comes with a 600 milliamp hour LiPo battery, which I kind of like. So basically all you would do is disconnect this, plug it into your charger, and then go, which I kind of like that idea. So cool. Kudos to GoolRC for that. Now, also on the back here, we have a little carry handle. Not that you'd ever use that, but it is there if you should want to use that. There's a little carry handle on the back. And let's pop this back open again, and we will go ahead and power the quadcopter on, and I'll show you what the screen looks like lit up. Alright, the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and power up the quadcopter. I've already inserted a battery into the battery compartment, and there's an on and off switch right on the right to the left of, if you're looking at it from the underside here, right to the left there is an on and off switch. So go ahead and hit that on, and you have red LEDs in the front and blue ones in the back. And that just says that the power is on, and the camera, you can see lights on the inside of the camera there. That's saying that it is sending a 5.8 gigahertz signal out. And we'll leave that sit there. And the next thing we're going to do is turn on the transmitter. Power switch here. And I apologize if you're not able to see this real well, or the lighting is kind of goofy in here. But we do have a loading sign there. And you can basically see now that we have FPV. And again, with the 5.8 gigahertz Wi-Fi signal, you are not dealing with a lot of lag. I did have this up in the air pretty high, and it was working out quite well. So no telemetry on here. The only thing it's going to tell you is in the left corner here, the Wi-Fi signal. It's going to tell you that there is an SD card inserted, the battery level of the transmitter, and then some other information alongside here. In order to hit a video, you would hit the video button on the left here by my thumb, and that will actually bring up a little recording symbol here. It will flash, and the numbers will start ticking off. To turn that off, you would just hit the off on that, And, oh, we lost signal here for some reason. I think this battery might be, yep, and the battery is dead. Again, the same thing, same kind of idea on the right-hand side. If you were to shoot a picture, you would just actually push the photo button and you would get a picture. The only thing I don't like about this is there is no telemetry, but again, at the $50 price, the $50 price point, you really can't complain too much. When I'm saying telemetry, I would have liked to have seen a low battery indicator for the quadcopter, something maybe that make the transmitter beep or send a little bit of a flash or something, flashing icon on the screen, so you'd know. The only reason I say that is because this thing will fly at pretty decent heights, and if you're up there and your battery decides to, you know, you're an LVC, it's very hard to see these LEDs on the bottom here, which was one of my gripes. We'll go over that a little bit more in detail later on. But that's pretty much it in a nutshell. Along with these items, you're going to get you know, your spare props, prop guards, your charger, and all the hardware to install the prop guards and the hardware to install the landing gear. You're also going to get a screwdriver with it. So it's pretty much what they consider an RTF or ready to fly. About 95% ready to fly, because you do have to supply yeah, it is ready to fly. The battery is included in here. So this is truth in advertising. This one is ready to fly. Let's go ahead and roll. I'm going to go ahead and roll some flight video in, and then I'll do a commentary afterwards, and we'll see you guys real soon. All right, guys, so here we are taking off from the park, and you can see by the quality of the video captured right now that it is pretty grainy. It is pretty washed out, so nothing spectacular on this camera. As mentioned before, you're looking at 480p, so you don't even have high definition. This is standard definition, and you know, what's the best you can, you know, what's the worst you know, you could expect. That's not too bad. Now, I did have to take this video and convert it from an AVI to compatibility with this app with my phone, so you're losing a little bit more resolution on top of it. And you can see we're going up, I don't know, probably about 100 or so, maybe a little over 100 feet up. And the FPV is staying intact. Sorry for all the quick movements up there. It's difficult to kind of see what I was doing. I was trying to fly a little bit line of sight on this as well as glance down every now and then for FPV. But you know, you're not going to win any awards for cinematography with this camera. One of the biggest gripes I have about this camera is the fact that it is such a narrow field of view, so you don't have that wide angle that a lot of cameras nowadays on quadcopters have. So I'm a little bit disappointed in that. Another thing that I'm disappointed in with the quad itself is it's very difficult to see the LEDs when you have low voltage. When you have a low voltage warning, you want to make sure that you're bringing the quad down as quickly as you can to you know, reduce the possibility of burning up batteries or damaging your quadcopter in some other way. There's a reason that they put those LVCs or low voltage warnings into the circuitry of the quadcopter, so you're not ruining things. And with these LEDs on the bottom, they're very difficult to see. So you'll notice that I'm not really staying up all that high. I'm kind of actually flying, you know, in kind of close proximity, being that the life of this particular battery with FPV, even at a 650 milliamp hour battery, you're looking at about 5 to 7 minutes. And I think this video section here of the flight is going to be right around 5 minutes long. But we're overlooking, you can see some jello as well, but we're overlooking West Allis, Wisconsin, southeastern Wisconsin. This is Rainbow Park, and it's kind of got a good view of the surrounding area, surrounding neighborhoods, things like that. You can see a little bit of static there. I was in an area that had some other Wi-Fi signals show up on my phone, and I just noticed that by using my phone at the same time, or right prior to starting this video. So there is going to be some interference. People are using 5.8 Wi-Fi, and there may be some interference. Again, we're dealing with residential areas all around, and there's a school just to the west of the park there, and you will be able to see that in a couple of the shots once I turn the quad around. But yeah, so you're getting some static, and you can see the tree right there in the bottom foreground is the one that is housing my SEMA X8C, and it will not return it. I'm going out tonight again with the wife to toss a softball up there and see if we can't knock it out of that tree. I'm determined. It's up there. It's been up there for 7 days now. I'm determined. And there I am passing over the top. And that's the tree right there you saw again. But again, you guys, 50 bucks, I mean, you can't really complain too much, and I'm not complaining. A couple of things that, are legitimate gripes. The difficult to see LEDs for the low voltage, the 480p camera. Everything nowadays, guys, is 720 at the very least. So I think that, this is kind of a little bit on the lacking side there, but, for $50, can't complain. You guys want to check it out, the link will be in the description, and we'll see you again with some commentary right after this. All right, guys, so all in all, I think for a $50 price point, you really can't go wrong with this quad, especially if you guys want to check out FPV, 5.8 gigahertz FPV for the first time. That's kind of why I got it. I don't do a whole lot of FPV flying. All of my flying is leaning more towards sport flying, line of sight. I wanted to start getting into maybe a little bit of FPV on the cheap. And again, this is a frugal purchase, $49.99 on Amazon. I don't think you can go wrong with that. Aside from a couple of small gripes, one major being the LEDs on here have no lens, so you're looking at these just tiny little LED buds here on each one of the prop arms, and they're very, very hard to see for low voltage. That's one thing that I really didn't like a whole lot. And then you're looking at a camera here that I think is very substandard, even at a $50 price point. When this quadcopter came out, probably close to 2 years ago, you were looking at right around 70, I think about 79, between 65 and 75, maybe $80 for this bird. And with that camera, it's very, very much lacking. 480p is unacceptable these days. Again, I know what I bought here. I realized that it was a 480p camera, but I will say that if you guys are buying a more up-to-date quadcopter, which you can find them out there, you're going to pay a little bit more money for them. Most of them, if not all of them, will be 720p or 1080p. 480p, it's unacceptable in this day and age, but considering the age of this quad and how long it's been out and what it actually does, I think it's acceptable. I'm not buying this. You don't buy this quadcopter with the intent of making a movie or taking some stellar snapshots. It's just not going to happen. You buy this quadcopter with the intent of checking out FPV, having everything in one package to be able to have that FPV experience and have a decent FPV experience, not having that lag of 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi FPV. This is actual standard 5.8 gigahertz FPV and works out really, really well. The transmitter itself is built very, very nicely. The screen quality is good for what it is. It does have the built-in sun shield on there, which does work out nicely in sunny conditions. I think for all intents and purposes, what you're getting in the package, this is a really great deal. Anybody wants to check out FPV for the first time, I'm going to give this a big thumbs up. Again, check it out in the description below. Thank you guys for stopping by. Thanks to all my new subscribers. Thanks for hanging out with me, and we'll see you all in the next one. God bless the Republic.